Final item, 10F, to adopt a resolution approving the installation of red curb striping in front of 381 Cortlandt Drive and at the intersection of Rosewood Drive and Glenbrook Lane.
So this item in front of you in regards to the two red curb locations, one at the corner of Cortlandt Drive and the other at the intersection of Rosewood and Glenbrook. And they were evaluated by Public Services Department. Sure. Let me start all over. The item in front of you is in regards to the two red curb locations, one at the corner of Cortlandt Drive and the other at the intersection of Rosewood and Glenbrook Lane. These red curb locations are evaluated by the Public Services Department staff or consultants. Then they're brought to the city's Traffic Safety and Parking Committee, otherwise known as TSPC. And the TSPC is tasked with reviewing the recommendations provided by the Public Services Department and evaluating whether or not to approve or modify or deny the recommendations prior to bringing to the council for consideration and approval. All red curb requests considered whether it will impact parking within the neighborhood or would improve public safety. So, as mentioned, this is one of the locations at Cortlandt Drive at the corner of at Cortlandt and Rosewood. There's currently the red zone from curb return to curb return and a fire hydrant at the front of the yard. Although the California Vehicle Code regulation prohibits parking of vehicles 15 feet in front of the fire hydrant, cars are consistently parked in front of the hydrant. Also, the resident's driveway is also blocked at times, and since the length of the unpainted curb is shorter than the length of the typical vehicle. Staff reviewed the red curb request and determined that there were no concerns over parking loss, and this is not an actual parking space as well because of the fire hydrant. And it was brought to TSPC for review, and the residents were invited to attend the meeting, and there were no concerns from the public regarding the installation of the red curb in front of the fire hydrant. So, therefore, TSPC has recommended council to improve the installation of the red curb at this location. And the second, it's at the intersection of Rosewood Drive and Glenbrook Lane. Residents living along Glenbrook Lane expressed interest in having additional red curb at the curb returns to prevent vehicles from parking so they'll have adequate sight distance exiting the intersection. Staff went to the site and evaluated the issue. The picture you see here kind of shows the seated vehicle exiting Glenbrook Lane. You can see cars are kind of parked there at the corner. And Rosewood Drive, eastbound, towards Cortlandt, uphill, and then it kind of crests near Glenbrook Drive. And staff evaluated the intersection, sight distance, and using the AASHTO, American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials policy, and determined that installation of 250 feet of red curb striping would improve the intersection sight distance at this location. However, the addition of the red curb would result in a loss of approximately 8 parking spaces. And this item was also brought to the TSPC, and residents were present during the meeting. And the residents and TSPC members discussed the issue regarding sight distance and parking loss. TSPC concurred that it was necessary to provide adequate sight distance for residents exiting Glenbrook Lane. And residents didn't express any concerns for loss of parking, but one resident mentioned that it may force other cars to park into the neighborhood. Therefore, TSPC has recommended council to improve the installation of red curb in this area as well. So that concludes our presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
So I'm not really clear what the extent of the red curbing is proposed. Is that the extent?
Correct.
The full 8 parking spaces? And then you get to Cortlandt, and then you're also proposing red curbing on that, on that same corner. And is that going to go all the way around to the stop sign?
The red curb already exists at that location, and the only.
Sure.
I'm the resident. So we have around the corner, and this is to our driveway, and people take this as permanent parking.
Okay, I'm clear on that. That's your house right there. Yeah, I'm clear on that. Okay, and I understand that, and I'm fine with that. I just think it's, and I suppose, this resident, is going to, where that SUV is parked right now, would that be a parking space still, or would that be
Yes.
taken?
No, it won't. It'd still be a parking space.
So there'd probably just be space for one car there, or according to your drawing,
Maybe two.
or two?
Two, yeah.
Okay. But this corner house, the two corner houses on Glenbrook would basically lose all their parking, all their
Correct.
street parking. And if they're,
How did the,
did you hear from them?
how did they feel about it at the hearings?
No, they were interested in getting these red curbs painted because
They
they
were.
have trouble coming out of the
Right.
Glenbrook Lane, and they're unable to see the cars, especially along Rosewood eastbound. There's a crest there, so it's really hard for them to see.
Okay.
I'm just curious, where are the cars coming from?
The
I mean, is it
residents are
just,
claiming that
you
it's
know,
coming from.
residents,
I'm sorry,
just next door neighbors and things that are,
Whitman, yeah,
okay, so apartment?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. Rico?
Yeah, through the chair, I was going to say, they are saying from the apartments, Shelter Creek potentially as well. There's a couple residents I know, and one I went up and visited and drove a few times, different times. The site visibility is a problem coming out Glenbrook, looking both sides, up and down. And the way they park, obviously, it just even sticks out, makes the turn even more challenging. So
Does that mean you're going to
I'm in
introduce?
favor of that unless council members have any comments? or-
Good.
No? I'd like to go ahead and introduce the resolution, please. I'm sorry, Irene.
Oh,
Go ahead. I apologize.
Go ahead.
let me just, go ahead and do the resolution and then I'll.
Sure.
I'll have a comment for it.
You have a comment now?
Irene, not for you.
Councilmember Rico
Okay,
Medina.
let me make my comment.
Yeah, make
Go
it.
ahead,
Uh,
Irene.
we-
Before
we've
Go ahead and
heard,
comment.
we've heard from the residents before about enforcing red curb restrictions, and I know the chief's over there, but I don't know if he's going to be able to comment. So I'm concerned that we're going to add more red curbs, and we're going to have to adjust and make sure that the police who drive by and see the cars parked on red curbs actually stop and give them tickets. So is that something that you want to comment on, Chief? Maybe you don't want to comment on
On the
that.
spot.
I'm sure people want to hear about it. So now we're adding more red curbs.
Yes, we're adding more parking enforcement. Parking enforcement's a challenge, and as we increase parking regulations, whether it be red curb or time parking, it's only as good as our enforcement capabilities. As you know, we have a limited number of parking enforcement personnel who are dedicated to enforcing parking complaints, and that happens primarily during the daytime and during the week. As far as patrol officers enforcing red curbs on a regular basis, that would likely happen on a complaint-based basis for the most part, where if there was a complaint about somebody parking in a red zone, the officer would come out and issue a citation. As far as proactively seeking that on a regular patrol day, that's not always practical for patrol officers to do that because they're going from call to call, and that's not something they would stop to do in the normal course of business as they were responding to even a routine call for service.
If I may, it occurs to me that part of the animosity that we heard earlier was because people don't understand that. They see a police car drive by and they see problems and they feel that there's no response, or that the person's just driving by and ignoring everything around them. So maybe we need to do some kind of education component in all of this in general about what police do and how many we have and what their time is taken up with.
Sure, no,
And maybe that's a piece of something we should look into.
We continually try to be as transparent and as open as possible, especially via social media. But the fact is we're responding to between 90 and 140 calls for service a day with a finite number of officers. Not all of those are emergency calls, but they are calls that are important to people. And the reality is that an officer is not going to stop or even be looking for a red curb violation as they're going from one call to the other. Can we be proactive? Sure, we're always looking for ways to be more proactive, and that message will be passed along to staff, believe me. However, I don't want to create an expectation that it's going to somehow be a quick fix or an instantaneous fix to something like this, because the reality is it's just not feasible.
Okay, great. And Mr. Rico, since you're here, maybe you could put in a little article educating people about that.
Okay, Marty?
So I went to the TSPC meeting when this item was discussed, and the residents understood the danger of trying to pull out there. And it's not just here. We have other areas throughout San Bruno that we need to be looking at. I appreciate the chief's comments, and I commend Ryan Johansson for his excellent outreach through nextdoor.com. And continuing to do so will help spread the word that, you can't park in red curb, and two, if you want the police to respond to it, you call it in, and people will have to get that message. And that parking in red is pretty easy. I think that's on the driving test, but I haven't taken it forever. But I would like to see more movement. I know on Susan Drive we've had incidents out there, and I would like to see something sooner than later. So those are my comments, and thank you for your work.
Good. Ready now.
We're okay? I'd like to go ahead and introduce the resolution, please.
Councilmember Rico Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Aye.
The last time, Vice Mayor Marty Medina this year.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.